Welcome back, everybody. Breaking news, and we want to take you back to Sanford, Florida. NBC's Carrie Sanders is standing by. And, Carrie, I understand just after we finished talking that we got word from the special prosecutor about what she wants to do.
Indeed, and it's an incremental step here. We talked a little bit just a moment ago about whether she was going to take the evidence gathered and present it to a grand jury, which meets tomorrow. But now the special prosecutor, Angela Corey, just released in a statement that she has decided not to use a grand jury in the Trayvon Martin shooting death investigation. It goes on to say the decision should not be considered a factor in the final determination of this case. The grand jury that was set to convene tomorrow was previously scheduled by the former prosecutor. And then finally it says that Ms. Corey was appointed on March 22nd, which is a little bit of a background. At the time, the investigation continues, and there will be no further comment from this office. So it's an incremental step, but what it means now is that the information that has been gathered by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and Angela Corey herself is going to be sifted through by her and her team that's been assembled, and that she will make the final determination of whether charges are warranted or whether no charges are warranted.
So, Carrie, once again, the investigation continues, which means that they most likely have not come to a determination. As we were talking about before, everybody in Sanford, around the world for that matter, had this date on the calendar of April 10th. So this basically gives them more wiggle room to continue the investigation to come to some type of conclusion.
I think it's time. You know, the one thing to remember here is that much of the criticism was the speed at which the state attorney's office concluded that no charges could be filed based on Florida's stand your ground law. Now, it's important to remember that Angela Corey, the special prosecutor, has no deadline. She can take as much time as she needs to sift through this. And when you talk about the world watching this, even the UN Commissioner or High Commissioner on Human Rights has weighed in, saying that he believes there needs to be a UN investigation of violation of rights here in Sanford, Florida. So you are correct when you say the world is indeed watching this.
And, Carrie, either side could interpret this as being positive for their legal team, depending on how they want to spin this information. We're showing everybody live pictures outside of the Sanford Police Department where people have gathered.
Yeah, let me sort of put a little bit of, I guess, a perspective on this. Angela Corey is an elected official in Jacksonville. As a state attorney, she's elected. The Duval County area is about 1/3 African American, 2/3 predominantly white. So she is a political position at the end of the day because she gets elected. She is taking on this responsibility as the special prosecutor appointed by the governor with the clear understanding that when she comes to a conclusion, there could be repercussions for her political future because of the emotions that are tied up in this. And so there is not supposed to be outside influence. A prosecutor is supposed to look at the facts of the case and only the facts of the case, weighing in this particular case the balance of Florida's stand your ground law. And what a prosecutor is supposed to do is to consider whether they have what they believe, if they're going to bring charges, a case that they can actually present ultimately in a courtroom. And one of the most difficult things in this case is the lack of eyewitnesses. There are ear witnesses, people who were on the phone who heard something. There is one eyewitness who saw a disturbance before it turned fatal. That person disappeared from the scene. And so only one person has spoken to the police, and that is the gunman, George Zimmerman himself. And his attorneys say he is now exercising his right to remain silent. And so Angela Corey has not been afforded the opportunity to interrogate him, to ask him questions. If the police department here followed protocol, they at least videotaped their interrogation of him, their interview with him on that first night, and so they can go back and review that and then sort of suss out with all the other details and perhaps the new evidence that they have uncovered to determine whether charges are warranted, Thomas.
Carrie, while you've been talking, we've been showing people aerial shots outside of the Sanford Police Department, and I just got a note that crossed my desk saying that the office of the Sanford Police Department will be temporarily closed to the public today due to the actions of student protesters. The students are currently occupying the space in front of the police department, blocking the main entrance. They are saying in Sanford, though, this will have minimal effect on police and fire response to the emergency calls. But again, the breaking news right now that State Attorney Angela Corey has decided not to use a grand jury in the Trayvon Martin shooting death investigation. The grand jury was set to convene on April the 10th, and that was scheduled previously by the prosecutor assigned to this case before Special Prosecutor Angela Corey stepped in. NBC's Kerry Sanders helping me out with this in Sanford, Florida. Kerry, thanks so much.